I speak to hundreds of data professionals every month, and what I find out sometimes is incredible in terms of how much people are paid. Some people are extremely underpaid, some people are paid extremely well and they don't know it. So the thing is that in the data analytics market, people don't know how much other people earn, and therefore if you don't speak to recruiters and if you don't engage in an interview process, it's harder you find out if you're actually paid well or not. In this video, I'm going to break down who are the best paid analytics professionals and how to get to the 100K mark as quickly as possible. And we can see a few different routes for you to get into data or for you to move within different sectors and industry to make sure that you get to your first 100K as soon as possible. The UK data market is very, very hectic, but in the middle space, people are fighting for positions because there are a lot of people there. And as a head of and director level, there are also a lot of people, but very few positions. At a junior level, with the rise of AI, things are getting extremely complicated. So if you're thinking about data careers, there are a few paths that are going to get you the best salary as soon as possible. And in principle, there are two different paths that you can take to understand how quickly you can get to 100K. The first path is the individual contributor route, and the second path is the management route. The individual contributor role will be very fast for you to get to that level if you are really good with it, and the management route will take a bit longer, but obviously after you get to the management route you can grow even better. So one is a bit shorter term and it's a bit difficult to maintain that level because of the fact that there are a lot of tech layoffs and there are a lot of young people who are getting in the workforce and can be a lot more technical than you in a very short time if you don't get upgraded all the time. In the management route instead, you get a bit more to get to the 100K level, but once you learn how to manage people, then you can manage coders who are incredible and get rewarded for it by getting more money. There are also three different elements that can contribute to how fast you get to 100K. The first is the industry, the second one is the type of company, and the third one is technical skills. In terms of the industry, financial services, tech, and startups usually pay a lot more than others. In terms of the type of company, big tech and startups are the ones that actually are usually pay more, and startups is because they have better package, potentially with stocks and any other things that are within the package. And in skill set, SQL, Python, machine learning, statistics, a lot of other things that you can add, including storytelling as well and soft skills in your data arsenal to make sure that your profile is valued more. So there is a matrix that is industry, company, skills, but also individual contributor and also management. So within this matrix, if you add all the things that are actually contributing to get you more money, then you are more likely to get more money as fast as possible. For example, if you are an individual contributor in big tech and you know how to use SQL, Python, machine learning, statistics, you're amazing at communications, and you work either in a big corporation or in a fast scaling startup, then you're best placed to make 100K in as little as 4 years. Obviously, we're talking about data and we cannot avoid talking about the talent war that is happening within AI. Meta is paying up to $1 billion in order to secure talent that are at the forefront of AI revolution. And it's a similar thing with data analysts, but let's break it down what could be a path that you can take in order to reach 100K as fast as possible. So regardless of where you are in your career, it's important to understand that you can control your career. At the start, it's easier because the first job that you get, if you manage to get into a really good role, then you're gonna get the rest very quickly. If you already started and maybe you have a few years of experience under your belt, then it might be difficult to switch careers. But in principle, this is what I would do if I would be in a data profession right now, regardless of whether it's the early stage or whether you're experienced already, to get to 100K as quickly as possible. So depending on where you are, the first and most important thing is to work on your skills. The first skill is obviously SQL. You need to be really good with it because SQL is now fundamental to get every data job that you need. The second one that I saw that gets people the best results is Python. If you're really good with Python, you can do everything from algorithms to extracting data to manipulating data very quickly. So Python is something that you really need to have in order to make sure that you can be an amazing data individual contributor or even a manager. Third, concepts of statistics and mathematics and machine learning and any other thing that is AI related is fundamental. So make sure that you can use SQL, you can use Python, and you can use them at your advantage to build algorithms and models that allow you to manipulate data in a much easier way and to get to some results as quickly as possible, where other people might take ages because maybe they're working with Excel and it's taking a lot longer, but also they can do a lot less advanced methodologies and analysis. And then number 4, it's about communications and storytelling. When I speak to people that are clearly good at it, I understand it straight away, and hiring managers understand it straight away, and they are going to move in the process much quicker than others because they can explain how they can use SQL, Python, and all the technical skills to get a result. So if you're not great with communication, you cannot explain that to a non-technical person, and therefore it will be a lot harder for you to explain that during an interview and therefore get a job at a top company. And last but not least is people skills. Whether it's influencing them or working with them in a great way or anything that has to do with influencing people that what you're saying is true. So if you're analyzing data, convincing people is one of the first and most important things that you need to do to make sure that your analysis matter and gets to a result. So to summarize, SQL, Python, stats, mathematics, machine learning, and everything that is advanced, storytelling, communication, and people skills. Those are the skills that you definitely need in order to make sure that you're rated as a top analyst. If you know all of them, that's great, but chances are that there's something that you are lacking or something that you're not strong at in terms of all the 5-6 different aspects that I talked to you about. So understand what are the things that are holding you back and make sure that you have a concrete plan of studying them and practicing them in your work. There's always a way to practice everything like that in your work. Even if you don't have the tools, you can always find ways to do it. Make sure that you practice it, make sure that you study it, make sure that you have proven experience with it and you can explain people and you can explain the future employers what results you've got and what is the impact you had just by using those skills. So this is a foundation and it's clear. Second thing is the type of company. Are you working for a scale-up or are you working for a huge company? Those two are quite different, but usually they're the ones that pay the most. So you can be in a small size company and therefore it might be easier for you to move to a scale-up or to a startup before. And if you are in a mid-sized company, it's easier because you can either switch to a small company or to a big company. But usually people are divided into those two categories. Usually it's hard to see people that move very quickly from very big company to startup because very big companies have very specialized and niche way for everybody to do their work. And in startups, people do pretty much everything. So you have different working styles. So chances are that you can either go into one or the other. So depending on where you are, if you are in big companies, stay in big companies. If you're in small companies, stay in small companies, unless you're in a big company and a startup that is a scale-up mode is calling you and therefore you might be interested in that specifically for the equity package. So make sure that if you are in one type of company, you stay within that, or if you are in another one, you stay within the other one, and try to not jump into different things too quickly because then you're gonna lose your unique selling point. And this is step number 2. So you work on your skills, you work on the type of companies you work in, and then talking about the industry is something very similar. You can be in an industry like travel or retail or tech. Make sure that you are within an industry that pays a lot more. It can be big tech, it can be financial services, it can be financial services scale-ups, it can be banks. So anything that is a big company or a scale-up within this field can work. So depending on where you are, try to find the easier way for you to change between industries. And if you are in the retail sector, for example, there are a lot of things that are similar with tech. Financial services is a bit different because usually it's a word by itself, but there are a lot of financial services companies that have something in common with other industries. For example, there are a lot of startups that are using website and products like apps to make sure that people navigate through the app as quickly as possible to, for example, convert to being a customer. In that case, if you are, for example, a product analyst working in retail, working on a similar kind of app, then obviously you can make the transition. So try to understand where you are compared to tech, where you are compared to financial services or any other field that you think is paying quite a lot, and try to make sure that you find what are the transferable skills that you can use to move in that specific industry. And then step number 3 is the individual contributor route or the management route. This is quite tricky because you can be really good technically but also being a people manager, or you can be a people manager and be quite good technically. But usually if you started managing people and if you're not super confident about your technical skills, and if you think that there are people who are clearly better, and if you're already on the route to be a manager, maybe you started managing somebody already, make sure that you stay within that track as well, because sometimes it's difficult to switch between one and the other. If you're an individual contributor, work on the technical skills, work on the industry, and the result will come. It usually takes between 3 to 6 years to get to 100K mark, and it's quite achievable if you're really good with techniques and if you move in a great way within companies that pay quite a lot more. If you are within management though, technical skills matter up until a certain point. What matters is the impact you have, is how productive you can get your team to be. It's about influencing strategy, influencing stakeholders, making sure that you get the company money. So there are different skills that you can use, but clearly you need to be great at understanding and explaining impact, working with people, and make sure that the company can get the best out of you. So if you're a manager, it makes sense to stay in the management route, but also make sure that you can move within the industry and the sector and the type of company that can get you the best results, which is the same across management and individual contributor. So depending on where you are, you can go to a lot of different places, you can move industry, you can move company, and you can get to 100K as quickly as possible. Again, the management route is a bit harder at first because you need to prove yourself technically, then you need to prove yourself in management, then you need to go up the rankings if that position is available, and therefore it might take a bit of time, but once you're there, it's easier for you to get over because you can grow in management, you can grow in type of companies, you can manage bigger teams, you can have bigger impact, and therefore you can have bigger paycheck. If you are an individual contributor, it will be quicker, again 3 to 6 years, probably something that you can be quite satisfied with. But also, let's say you get 10-15 years into your career, then some people that are younger, they are born with different technologies, can get up to that level, and therefore it will be really challenging to get more and more and more without managing people. So eventually at some point you will need to consider the management route as well. But those are the 2 different career points that you can start and you can learn to do in order to get to 100K as quickly as possible. There are obviously other routes, but those are the 2 most common routes in the data analytics sector. If you have any questions, just feel free to pin them down. And obviously, if you have any points or any other advice, feel free to share that with me, and see you in the next video. Bye!